Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie and today I'm speed running my 25 and 25, but this is also kind of like up and coming horror that I cannot wait to get to. There's so many amazing horror books coming out this year, amazing other books as well, and honestly the list goes on. I wish that I had the time to talk about even more with you guys, but I thought that I could do two birds, one stone, doing this video talking about upcoming releases, but also showing you guys just 25 of them because these are the 25 that I am putting on my 25 and 25. Every year I fail miserably, but I do task myself with the amount of books that is the number of the year, and I put it on myself to make them new releases because I'm constantly trying to read past books, so this is a way for me to include a bunch of new books that are coming out that I know I'm going to be so excited for, and I want to make sure I can try to motivate myself to read them as well, and it also will help me out with end of the year things like the Goodreads Choice Awards and stuff like that. If you missed one of my last videos, I talked about my end of the year stats, pretty much my reading year for 2024. I also mentioned goals, and I talked about this video because I wanted to be very transparent with you guys that, like, although to an extent I am challenging myself with these 25 books, at the same time I'm not setting myself up for failure like I have the past couple of years with this challenge, because last year I was a wild card. I picked so many different genres, I threw so much stuff on there, and obviously I failed. So I'm wanting to be a lot more comfortable this year with my reading, and I want to read what I want to read. And because of that, I am going to be sticking to mainly horror. There might be some that kind of lean more towards thriller as well. There may be some that kind of lead more literary fiction, but like rage, good for her type of reads, because I do like feminine rage books. And I also know I have at least one that may fall more fantasy just because I have to have it on my list. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. So the first one is Wake Up and Open Your Eyes by McLeod Chapman. This just got published on January 7th. I am super excited to get to this one. It is about a family on the run from a demonic possession epidemic that spreads through media. For fans of The Last of Us and When Evil Lurks, Noah Fairchild has been losing his formerly polite Southern parents for far-right cable news for years. So when his mother leaves him a voicemail warning him that the Great Reawakening is here, he assumes it's related to one of the many conspiracy theories she believes in. But when his own phone call goes unanswered, Noah makes a long drive from Brooklyn to Richmond, Virginia. There, he discovers his childhood home in shambles, a fridge full of spoiled food, and his parents locked in a terrifying trance-like state in front of the TV. I cannot wait to get to this one. I think it's going to hit close to home for sure with the state of the world right now, but I am always down for a McLeod Chapman. Next up is Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This one published on the 14th of January. They call them wayward girls, loose girls, girls who grew up too fast, and they are sent to the Wellwood home in St. Augustine, Florida, where unwed mothers are hidden by their families to have their babies in secret, give them up for adoption, and most important of all, to forget any of it ever happened. 15-year-old Fern arrives at the home in the sweltering summer of 1970, pregnant, terrified, and alone. Under the watchful eye of the stern Miss Wellwood, she meets a dozen other girls in the same predicament. There's Rose, a hippie who insists she's going to find a way to keep her baby and escape to a commune, and Zinnia, a budding musician who knows she's going to go home and marry her baby's father, and Holly, a wisp of a girl, barely 14, mute and pregnant by no one knows who. I think this is going to be heartbreaking as much as empowering, and I cannot wait to see what Grady Hendrix does with this read. Next up is At Dark, I Become Loathsome by Larocca. This comes out later this month on the 28th. The cover's not haunting enough. I'm sure this is going to be a pretty unhinged read because it's Eric Larocca. A grim yet gentle, horrifying yet hopeful, intense tale of death, trauma, and love. If you're reading this, you've likely thought that the world would be a better place without you. A single line of text glowing in the darkness of the internet, written by Ashley Luton, who has often thought the same, and worse, in the years since his wife died and his young son disappeared. But the peace of the grave is not for him, it's for those he can help. Ashley has constructed a peculiar ritual for those whose desire to die is at war with their yearning to live a better life. Struggling to overcome his own endless grief, one night Ashley finds connection with Jinx, a potential candidate for Ashley's next ritual, who spins a tale both revolting and fascinating. This next one is Little Mysteries, 9 miniature puzzles to confuse, enthrall, and delight from Sara Gran. This is the author of Come Closer, which was a possession. While this one is marketed mystery thriller, I'm so excited to get to this because Come Closer it did something to my brain. This one comes out February 11th, and like it says, it's a bunch of little stories that are supposed to be puzzles. It says this is charming, gritty explorations of the greatest mysteries of all, who we are and what is this life. She explores what detective stories mean and why we need them. If you love mysteries and wonder why this book is for you, featuring both new characters and characters from the beloved Claire DeWitt series, which have not read. So I am wondering if that's something I need to get to before this one, but I'm just excited to see what this all is. I feel like it just seems so intriguing and interesting that I had to add it to my list. Now this next one is a wild card for me because I still have not got to Tender is the Flesh, which I think is the same author, Agustina Bazterrica. I'm mispronouncing that, but I do have that on my TBR. People have recommended it to me. I've wanted to read it for a while, but I seen that they're coming out with The Unholy. This releases March 4th, and it is translated by Sarah Moses. It is a work of literary horror about a woman cloistered and a secretive, violent religious order while outside the world has fallen into chaos. From her cell in a mysterious convent, a woman writes the story of her life and whatever she can find, discarded ink, dirt, and even her own blood. A lower member of the sacred sisterhood deemed an unworthy, she dreams of ascending to the ranks of the enlightened at the center of the convent and of pleasing the foreboding superior sister. I cannot wait for this. If there's something that I love, it is religious horror, and I just know that this is going to do something for me. I can't wait to get to this one. And I, of course, have the Buffalo Hunter Hunter from Stephen Graham Jones. This comes out March 18th. It is a chilling historical horror novel set in the American West in 1912, following a Lutheran priest who transcribes the life of a vampire who haunts the fields of the Blackfeet Reservation looking for justice. A diary written in 1912 by a Lutheran pastor is discovered within a wall. What it unveils is a slow massacre, a chain of events that go back to 217 Blackfeet dead in the snow. I am excited for this one. I know it's going to be such a ride of a story and emotional and just beautifully written. I cannot wait. Next up is This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. This comes out March 25th, and I picked this one because I did want to have at least a couple thrillers in the mix, but her last book, what was it, Midnight is the Darkest Hour? It was just so interesting that I was like, I don't know if this author is for me, but I want to see what she comes out with next. It says this is a chilling, compulsive story of 5 amateur sleuths whose hunt for an elusive killer catapults them into danger as the world watches. It's the most famous crime in modern history, but only she knows the true story. After the unexpected death of her father, college student Jane Sharp longs for a distraction from her grief. She becomes obsessed with true crime, befriending armchair detectives who teach her how to hunt killers from afar. In this morbid internet underground, Jane finds friendship, purpose, and even glory. I don't want to read any more because with thrillers, the less you read, the better when it comes to the synopses. Next up is kind of the same ordeal. This one is The Last Session by Julia Bartz. Her book, her debut, The Writing Retreat, I kind of felt middle ground. I think I give it 3 stars, but I was so intrigued enough that I definitely want to try another one of her stories. I really enjoyed the writing. This is a new one from her. It comes out April 1st this year, and it says it's a white-knuckled, locked-room thriller about a social worker who, after coming face-to-face with her dark past, must infiltrate a mysterious wellness center in the deserts of New Mexico. When a catatonic woman shows up at the psychiatric unit, social worker Thea swears she knows her from somewhere. She's shocked to discover the patient holds a link to a traumatic time in her past. Again, with a thriller, the less you know, the better, but I'm excited to pick up that one. Then this cover just grossed me out, and I love it. I have to read it. This is Eat the Ones You Love by Sara Marie Griffin. It comes out April 22nd. This is categorized as horror and fantasy. It is a twisted, tangled story about workplace love affairs and plants with a taste for human flesh. During a grocery run to her local shopping center, Shell Pine sees a help needed sign in the flower shop window. She's just left her fiance, lost her job, and moved home to her parents' house. She has to make a change and bring some good into her life, so she goes inside takes a chance. Shell realizes right away that flowers are just the good thing she's been looking for, as is Nev, the beautiful florist who wrote the sign asking for help. The thing is, Nev needs help more than Shell could possibly imagine. An orchid growing out of sight in the heart of the mall is watching them closely. His name is Baby, and the beautiful florist belongs to him. He's young, he's hungry, and he'll do just about anything to make sure he can keep growing big and strong. I'm excited. Also excited for When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. His next one I am super stoked for. This one also comes out April 22nd. One night, Jess, a struggling actress, finds a 5-year-old runaway hiding in the bushes outside her apartment. After a violent, bloody encounter with the boy's father, she and the boy find themselves running for their lives. As they attempt to evade the boy's increasingly desperate father, horrifying incidents of butchery follow them. At first, Jess thinks she understands what they're up against, but she's about to learn there's more to these surreal and grisly events than she could have ever imagined. Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zeng. This is by Kylie Lee Baker, and it comes out April 29th. In this explosive horror novel, a woman is haunted by inner trauma, hungry ghosts, and a serial killer as she confronts the brutal violence experienced by East Asians during the pandemic. Cora Zeng is a crime scene cleaner, washing away the remains of brutal murders and suicides in Chinatown. But none of that seems so terrible when she's already witnessed the most horrific thing possible, her sister Delilah being pushed in front of a train. This one is going to be so heartbreaking. I have read that it's supposed to be a take on COVID and how people were racially profiled and blamed for this pandemic. So it's going to take on that, and it's going to be, I'm sure, a gut-wrenching story to follow. But I do think it's also going to have some unique and cool aspects of a crime scene unit person who cleans it up. The cover is so interesting and just gorgeous as well. It's Immaculate Conception by Ling Huang. This is published May 13th, and this is from the author of Natural Beauty, which I've yet to get to, but I've heard amazing things. This is set in a fiercely competitive art world, a novel about an obsessive friendship upended by a cutting-edge technology supported to enhance empathy and connection. Anika meets McLeod in art school, who is a dizzyingly talented yet tortured artist whose star is on the rise. Inka, however you say this name, Inka, not sure if it's Inka, is struggling to make art that feels original, is immediately drawn to her. The two strike up an intense bond that soon turns codependent. But when Hild's fame reaches new heights, Inca becomes desperate to keep her best friend close no matter the cost. Then we have another religious horror, The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling. It's coming out May 20th. Amor Castle has been under siege for 6 months. Food is running low and there has been no sign of rescue. But just as the survivors consider deliberately thinning their number, the castle's stores are replenished. The sick are healed, and the divine figures of the Constant Lady and her saints have arrived, despite the barricaded gates offering succor in return for adoration. Soon the entire castle is under the sway of their saviors, partaking in an intoxicating feast of terrible origin. The war hero, Servoin, gives her alliance to the Constant Lady, who is a disorganized, paranoid, nun-turned-sorceress, races to unravel the mystery of these new visitors and exonerate her experiments as their source. We have a new Stephen King coming on May 27th, Never Flinch, and this one is a continuation of Holly Gibney. One about a killer on a diabolical revenge mission, and another about a vigilante targeting a feminist celebrity speaker, featuring the beloved Holly Gibney and a dynamic new cast of characters. When the Buckeye City Police Department receives a disturbing letter from a person threatening to kill 13 innocents and 1 guilty in an act of atonement for the needless death of an innocent man, Detective Izzy Janines has no idea what to think. Are 14 citizens about to be slaughtered in an unhinged act of retribution? As the investigation unfolds, Izzy realizes that the letter writer is deadly serious, and she turns to her friend Holly Gibney for help. This is another new to me author, Kill Creatures by Rory Power. It's coming out June 3rd. I'm a little nervous because it is young adult, and I didn't know that until after I put it on my list, and now I feel like I'm too far in to go back. Last summer, Nan's 3 best friends disappeared into Salt Cedar Canyon. She spent the year since grieving their loss and avoiding questions about what happened that night. Now on the anniversary, she's ready to say goodbye, and so are the girls' families, who have reconvened to hold a memorial, but their vigil is interrupted by the shocking return of one of the missing girls alive. Everybody is overjoyed, everybody that is except Nan, who was pretty sure they were dead. After all, she's the one who killed them. Can't wait. The next one is probably one of my most anticipated because it's V.E. Schwab. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil comes out on June 10th. This follows 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. One grows high and one grows deep and one grows wild, and all of them grow teeth. She calls this one her toxic lesbian vampires, and I am so excited for this. Like, I think horror fantasy vampire. I'm excited. The next one is also a horror fantasy because I cannot pass up a good witchy read. This one is The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. Her work has not always worked out for me, but I am excited for this one and to give her writing another go. I don't think it was ever the writing. I think it's just the flow of the story. So I'm excited to see how this one plays out and giving this author another chance too. I feel like her story, the book that I have read, was super intriguing, but I feel like for this one, I just want to see if maybe the style story would work better in this direction than what I've read in the past. This comes out July 15th. And this is 3 women in 3 different eras encounter danger and witchcraft in this eerie, multi-generational horror saga. Back then, when I was a young woman, there were still witches. That was how Nana Alba always began the story she told her great-granddaughter, Minerva. Stories that have stayed with Minerva all of her life. Perhaps that's why she has become a graduate student focused on the history of horror literature and is researching the life of Beatrice Tremblay, an obscure author of macabre tales. In the course of assembling her thesis, Minerva uncovers information that reveals that Tremblay's most famous novel, The Vanishing, was inspired by a true story, and dives into that story of decades earlier during the Great Depression. Tremblay attended the same university where Minerva is now studying and became obsessed with her beautiful and otherworldly roommate, who then disappeared under mysterious circumstances. I feel like there's going to be a lot intertwined in that one, and I'm really excited to pick it up. Another thriller that has caught my eye is Too Old for This by Samantha Downing. This comes out August 12th, and I think I just have a thing for older women in stories doing things that you typically wouldn't see older women doing. And the cover alone, I think, is so funny with this one. A retired serial killer's quiet life is upended by an unexpected visitor. To protect her secret, there's only one option left. What's another murder? Lottie Jones thought her crimes were behind her. Decades earlier, she changed her identity and tucked herself away in a small town. Her most exciting nights are the weekly bingo games at the local church and gossiping with her friends. When investigative journalist Plum Dixon shows up on her doorstep asking questions about Lottie's past and specifically her involvement with the numerous unsolved cases, well, Lottie just can't have that. But getting away with murder is hard enough when you're young, but when Lottie receives another annoying knock at the door, she realizes this crime might just be the death of her. Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Cañas comes out also on August 12th, and I could not be more ecstatic that this is the direction her next story is going, and that we have another one from her, because I absolutely fell in love with Vampires of El Norte. A demonic presence awakens deep in a Mexican silver mine. The young woman it seizes must turn to the one man she shouldn't trust. In 1765, plague sweeps through Zacchaeus. Alba flees with her wealthy merchant parents and fiancé Carlos to his family's isolated mine for refuge, but safety provides fleeting as other dangers soon bare their teeth. Alba begins suffering from strange hallucinations, sleepwalking, and violent convulsions. She senses something cold lurking beneath her skin. Something angry, something wrong. I love a good possession story. Then we have 13 Days Haunted by Jimmy Giuliano, and this is another one that I'm super excited for because I loved their last as well. I was blown away by Dead 11, and now on August 12th also we're going to have a twisty, edge-of-your-seat novel about a unique haunting in the early 200s. Piper Lowry, a public library clerk in charge of liaising with the local middle school, can tell right away that there's something strange about the new girl in 8th grade. Avery Wallace won't touch any kind of technology, not even the computers at the library, and her mother comes to school with her every day, refusing to leave her side, not even when Avery uses the restroom. And then there are the rumors, the whispers Piper hears from the kids in the hallway, and parents around Avery's mother is a witch. Her sister and father were killed, and something supernatural, a strange virus, killed them. Seeing how isolated and lonely Avery is, Piper befriends her but quickly realizes it might just be the worst decision she's ever made because there's something dark inside Avery Wallace. And it's spreading. The last one on August 12th is Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle. We don't have a cover for this one yet. After a global disaster prompts thousands of comically unlikely deaths, a bisexual statistics professor who has convinced herself she might not exist, and an ethically dubious government agent must travel to Las Vegas to unravel the connection between deadly bouts of absurdity and a supernaturally lucky casino. I'm excited. It's Chuck Tingle. Then we have The End of the World as We Know It. This is coming out August 19th, and this is the collaboration work of many amazing authors who are coming together to write their own stories based on Stephen King's famous The Stand. It's edited by Christopher Golden and Brian Keene. An introduction by Stephen King, a foreword by Christopher Golden, and an afterword by Brian Keene. So many. I'll just throw up a picture of all of the names that are taking part in this collaboration. There's going to be so many stories. Some that I'm really looking forward to is Nat Cassidy, V. Castro, Tiana Redu, Josh Mallerman, Paul Tremblay, Trina Ward. Oh my gosh, so many more. There's so many amazing names here. Then we have Hot Wax by ML Rio. This comes out on September 9th. This is supposed to be a nostalgic love letter to 90s rock and roll scene. Hot Wax follows a band of rocker misfits, rivals, and trailblazers on the tour that could have catapulted them to superstardom if it all hadn't come crashing down. I love her characters and their character development together within the story, so I'm excited for this one. We have a new one from Rachel Harrison, Play Nice. This also comes out September 9th. We also do not have a cover for this one yet. But this is about a woman who must confront the demons of her past when she attempts to fix up her childhood home in this devilishly clever take on the haunted house novel. Cleo Lewis Barnes leads a picture-perfect life as a stylist and influencer, but beneath the glossy veneer, she harbors a not-so-glamorous secret. She grew up in a haunted house. Well, not haunted, possessed. After Cleo's parents' messy divorce, her mother Alex moved Cleo and her sisters into a house occupied by a demon, or so Alex claimed. That's not what Cleo's sisters remember, or what the courts determined when they stripped Alex of custody after she went off the deep end. But Alex was insistent. She even wrote a book about her experience in the house. After Alex's sudden death, the supposedly possessed house passes to Cleo and her sisters. Where her sisters see childhood trauma, Cleo sees an opportunity for house-flipping content. Only as the home makeover process begins, Cleo discovers there might be some truth to her mother's claims. As memories resurface and Cleo finally reads her mother's book, the presence in the house becomes more real and more sinister, revealing ugly truths that threaten to shake Cleo's beautiful life to its very foundation. And my very last 25th book is Nowhere Burning by Katrina Ward. This is supposed to come out October 7th. At this point, I'm always down for a weird Katrina Ward book, and I cannot wait to see more about this one and to see a cover as well. It is set in a unforgiving maw of the Rocky Mountains. Nowhere Burning is the latest harrowing novel, perfect for fans of Riley Sager, and the hit series Yellow Jackets. A refuge for lost children may also be their prison. In the middle of the night, Riley pulls her younger brother Oliver out of bed and the two run away from home. Riley is intent on joining a group of teenagers squatting in the abandoned ruins of an infamous movie star's ranch, Nowhere. For actor Leif Winham, Nowhere was a place to hide from his fame and to hide his crimes until a fire ravaged his home and exposed him as a murderer. It is rumored that the ranch nestled in the peaks of the Rocky Mountains is now home to a group of feral children, a place where adults cannot enter, and Riley hopes to find a new family there. But the Nowhere kids are fierce in defending their turf and their clan, and Riley quickly realizes that while she and Oliver may have left the devil they knew, this group is a new type of diabolical. Something dark lives in the burned shell of Nowhere, something which asks a terrible price for sanctuary. And that is my 25 for 2025 that I hope to get to. These are also my most anticipated books, horror and fantasy horror, even a little thriller that I just cannot wait to read this year. And if you are reading any of these, please let me know what you think. Or if you have any others that you are really excited for, let me know in the comments. And I'm sure pretty soon you'll see some of these in upcoming vlogs. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today and going through these 25 books. It looks like we're in for a real treat this year, and I can't wait. I will see you guys in my next video.
Sorry about that text you got, I didn't ever mean